Oh, Collingwood forever. I missed it. Yep, that was pretty humiliating. Hello and welcome to the Hitout. I'm your host, Phoenix Trinidad, and if you are new here, this is Zero Hanger's weekly AFL podcast where we talk about everything in the AFL. And this week, King's birthday recap, we talk about our Fight MND fundraiser. Thank you to everybody that donated, by the way. The link is still in the description if you want to donate for our little fundraiser. We also talk about who is the best player over 30, and we debate whether ruckmen are midfielders. So, pretty interesting episode this week. While I've got you, if you're interested in the AFL draft, we also have Craft of the Draft on this YouTube channel. Check them out for all things draft. And let's get on with the episode. Okay, on today's episode, editor Mitch Keating. Hello, mate.
Hey, mate. How are you?
A bit wet.
It's a good weekend.
A bit cold, yeah. And Aidan, Cellini, my mortal enemy.
We liked each other before this morning.
I still like it, mate. Yeah, I'm a bit cold. If you, my hair is wet.
Still shivering.
But it's all for a good cause. I think first off the bat, I would like to say thank you to everybody that donated to the fundraiser. We did raise a little bit of money for Fight MND, and thank you to everybody that egged on this idea for me to get ice bucketed at work today before recording this podcast.
You seemed actually quite excited about it.
I was, because I knew I was doing it for a good reason. And like, to be honest, because the fundraiser went over the goal, I was gonna have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have been forced to do it even if Melbourne won, which was not the most important thing about yesterday, but I deemed it pretty important.
You must be quite happy. It was a good game.
Yeah.
Should we actually talk about the game?
No, I think we went over it. So thanks to everyone that went over in the live stream last night.
Yeah, it was great.
Because it was fun to break down, and I was a little bit emotional coming into it. We won't talk about the umpiring or anything. We covered that all in the live stream, and if you want to rewatch it, that is on the YouTube channel. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was a good game. Yeah. I think everybody enjoyed it. It feels like even from Melbourne fans, everyone's kind of okay with that loss.
Yeah. I mean, our reactions as well, I think, was pretty good. Indicator of where the game was at. We're both relatively pleased, although admitted there were some moments where we wish, well, more so Melbourne maybe. Yeah. Somewhere went a little bit differently, but yeah, I think all in all, great day, great calls, great game.
Yeah. Yeah. In the immediate aftermath, I think on the stream you brought to my attention the Max Gawn, Stephen May thing at the time. Since obviously it's been about 12 hours since then. The media fallout hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be, but there's still I think it's still really overplayed.
Oh, one of my mates said it was a storm in a teacup, and I agreed. Well, actually, we're chatting mid-game because he bagged one of your other teammates in the second quarter. Yeah. And I was like, oh, he does that a lot. But and as Gawn said, it's what he does because he's such a high, man. Yeah, has such a high regard and sets high standards, and that's what you want. So storm in a teacup, absolutely. But it was still just interesting to see. Nonetheless, just the captain and probably the two most experienced players kind of put it out a little bit. And then Dan Turner's like that little custody child who's just fighting between mum and dad. So interesting spectacle, but yeah, I don't think it needs that much breathing air.
No, but it will get about 3 more days of coverage.
Gawn's gone on. I think it was on radio this morning. On Tuesday it is, and even after the game, I spoke about it. Yep, just competitive beasts. Want to win in the heightened situation, didn't get the win. Simple as that. So should be put to bed pretty quickly. But yeah, obviously the optics initially didn't look too great, but nothing else to be.
I wonder what's May saying in that point? Is he just grilling him for the kick? Is that it? Is he just?
The only thing he could be saying is that wasn't the right option or something because obviously he's just miskicked it. Well, he could be saying that it was a shocking kick. Yeah. Which is obviously there's no need for that. Clearly it was a shocking kick. But if he was baking him for the actual option of I think he was trying to kick a torp or something down the middle, which is what.
Didn't he say on Channel 7? He got called a play on, which he didn't think he needed to at that point. Yeah. So then he had to rush it. And then one option, if he was going to go up the line, would have to be on his left. And he's like, well, I'm not kicking it on my left.
Yeah.
then he's just had to just go for like the real danger kick.
Yeah.
And it's just landed in Hoskin Elliott's lap.
And Jamie Elliott quickly closed that kind of corridor kick anyway, which forced even more so of the shank. But I think what I understand would have been that he would have potentially some sort of team rules or assumptions there. Again, 30 seconds to go, you're 1 point down. What do? You try and create something. But maybe there's an understanding pre-game that if they were in that situation, they've got some sort of plan that he maybe didn't adhere to.
Yeah.
And that's why May would have gone for. Because you can't imagine he'd have been too upset with for him to try and win the game.
Yeah.
But maybe there was a way that they would have hoped to have done it differently. But as he said, kind of, it was called play on and then put on the back foot. So,
well, I would assume that it's a team rule for Max Gawn not to be taking those kicks. Like that. Like I think I said last night on the stream, but that is 100% of the time. That is a hand off to a Salem or a Bowie or whatever, or whoever's running the run behind to make that kick. But again, he had like 30 seconds left, heat of the moment, and then it resulted in a heat of the moment from Stephen May as well. So, I think it's all good.
Can go check out the live stream if you want.
Yeah.
What was it? A good hour of unpacking post game.
Absolutely, yeah. We did have some issues with the audio first on, and I think I've cut that bit out of the video that's on the YouTube channel. So,
cool.
So if you want to hear us emotionally break it down immediately after the game, I think we're actually pretty measured. It's just a little bit about the umpiring.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
And for anyone else, we might do a couple more of them throughout the year. Yeah. So if anyone has a game on the calendar that they wouldn't mind a bit of an immediate breakdown of, we might be able to accommodate. Yeah. Might. But
yeah, as long as it works within my personal schedule. Anyway,
busy man.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. King's birthday. Well done, Collingwood. Well done to everybody at Fight MND. Again, the Neil Danaher stuff was, I think it was the most emotional. Like, it gets more emotional every year that Neil hangs on. So and it was just. Yeah, it was really nice, and especially, but this year had that extra bit of him being named Australian of the Year and everything. Well, congrats to Collingwood, congrats to you, Aidan. You won the bet, and we got some good content out of it.
I was happy it wasn't a draw.
Yeah, All right. So AFL scoring freeze.
Yeah, it was pretty low scoring this week, wasn't it?
Yeah. So for the first time this year, no team scored 100 points. Now there was a couple who did have a bye. But again, so this was the first real week in terms of, I know it's not the first weekend of winter that footy's been played, but it's probably the first weekend where it's been in full effect, the dreary conditions. So you had, I think, 3 games MCG, all kind of either blustery conditions or wet. One at GMHBA Stadium, which was very low scoring. You had one at Adelaide Oval, which was, again, not great conditions. And even under the roof at Marvel Stadium between the Hawks and the Dogs, that was relatively low scoring for the perfect conditions there as well. So, yeah, going through the numbers, it was an average of 62.9 points per team, which is the lowest of anything this year. And it's usually been hovering around 80, 82, 84 points per round. The couple ticking over 90 as well. And then also to that point, although the conditions might have played a major part in it, the goal accuracy as well was at an not all-time low, but a season low. It
did feel like that.
So you had,
like every game this round felt like nobody could hit the goals.
Yeah, so the Eagles and Lions were obviously quite poor in front of the big sticks. Even the Tigers, after a really good start against the Swans, I think they kicked 1 goal 8 after quarter time. And then obviously a few other moments throughout the weekend as well. So, yeah, it's kind of had a bit of a dip. And I think Craig McRae kind of put it pretty well that there's periods throughout the year that the game's going to look very different. And as we know, winter comes, especially in Melbourne, comes poor conditions. It's going to be wet, highly contested, and more difficult to handle the ball, and therefore also kick higher scores. So therefore, we're probably entering a period now where those games are going to see a lot more lower scores and also contested games, which previously maybe more highly transitional in terms of the warmer summer months or the games in those summer periods. So thought it was an interesting little.
Yeah. Well, I like getting into more opinion-y side of things, but I actually like a really hard-fought, scrappy, highly contested game. Like, I think that's what I like about footy is that, like, it is high-flying and the ball moves a lot earlier in the season, and then when it slows down, maybe because, like, traditionally Melbourne have been okay in those, like, highly contested games, but I don't know, I really like it as opposed to, like, a super high-scoring shootout or whatever.
Yeah, it depends. Like, you can have good close games that are still not good games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. I almost got close to that tip the draw that I tipped last week. I thought if Lachie Neale kicked that, I would have had it. Nathan Buckley actually tipped a draw for the Adelaide-Brisbane game. So I thought he almost did quite well then. And then again, on Monday, it was almost a draw. But yeah, low scoring doesn't necessarily mean bad football, but high scoring doesn't necessarily mean good football. So I think I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just biased because Melbourne never a high scoring team.
Well, because it's such a defensive team. So yeah, they're pretty dour in that sense, which keeps them in the game in some aspects, but then also you don't really kick many goals. So
yeah, that being said, I am loving watching. I mean, Adelaide this weekend wasn't as high scoring as you usually see them, but I think week before they kicked 100. They kicked over 100 last week.
Smashed Sydney.
The week before.
It's 130.
That they are a fun team to watch in that when they're scoring a lot. But yeah, okay. AFL scoring freeze. I mean, that's going to pick up towards the end of the season.
Didn't we talk about it like a month ago that things were going to get a little bit more tighter? I feel like I don't know.
I feel like it just happened really quickly though. Maybe it's because of the weather. Like it feels like we went from like mild autumn. Wait, what are we in? Autumn to
we're in winter.
I think we just landed in winter really quickly. That's what it felt like.
I think when we also spoke about it, we were saying like that the seasons are a bit delayed now. So like autumn kind of carries on into June. So maybe we've really just hit pure winter. Anyway, enough weather talk. Go see Jane Bunn for that. That's fine.
All right. Over 30 bracket.
Yeah. We had the was it under 25 one, and there was so much demand for an over 31 from two people sitting next to me. So we thought we'd whip it out. It was quite hard because obviously the under 25 one.
Did I push for this?
I think you asked for it. You can clip what you said over the top.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. I had to whittle down. I went through every single player, so you have to be 94 born or older, and it was a long list, so it was quite hard to leave a few names out, but still pretty star-studded throughout the whole 32 that have made the cut. And it'll be quite interesting to see how fans vote because we haven't really set any criteria for this. It's mostly just been you have to be this old, and it doesn't matter if you're playing really good now or you've had a really great career. So a matchup like Steel Sidebottom versus Nat 5 would be interesting because obviously 5 hasn't played much this year, and Sidebottom's having arguably a career best year. But then from a career standpoint, you're probably taking Nat 5 over Steel Sidebottom. So it's quite interesting.
So what do you lean towards though in your reasoning?
I think I would probably lean towards
career total.
But then if you're really trying to split hairs, you look at how they're going this year. So there might be a few easy ones, which usually are going to get round one, like Max Gawn versus Jeremy Howe. Patrick Dangerfield versus Brody Mychek. Lockie Neal versus Luke Parker. But there are going to be some tight ones, like Tom Stewart versus Tex Walker. Might be quite interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Jeremy Cameron versus Travis Boak. Could really come down to how the neutrals vote, because you'd think, most fans are going to vote for the person on their side. But there's a lot of Collingwood in here, like Scott Pendlebury versus Adam Treloar will be an interesting first matchup. Old teammates. One's coming off an AA season. One's still going quite strong from a career standpoint. You're taking Pendles, but Treloar, has had a really good last 18 months. So there's some interesting ones.
Nobody's picking Treloar over Pendlebury.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're taking career, it's probably one-sided. But if others want to lean towards the more informed current route, you probably might still take Pendles, given Treloar hasn't played much. But if you take in last year in his AA season, it could be quite interesting. So there's a few interesting ones. Tom Lynch versus Jeremy McGovern is another one. Both, I think, at some points have been the best in their position. And they've both kind of dealt with injuries as well. So there's a few. So who would you have as your favourite? Because there's some good players still around when you look at Lockie Neal, Patrick Dangerfield, Jeremy Cameron, Toby Green, Pendles and Sidebottom, Libba.
Initially, I've geared toward Danger. Again, talk about longevity and personal individual accolades as well. But also think this year he could add, is it a 9th? Australia,
be the first player to get a record. Yeah,
and that's as probably a forward pocket. I know you might go into the midfield at times, but predominantly as a forward. Again, to be able to reinvent yourself, and with his injury history, it just seems, again, that's initially being off a quick glance. But as you said, it's pretty hard to kind of split some of these champions of the game. It would have
to be either Danger or Pendles. But then Danger, like he's got 2 Brownlows? No, 1.
1 Brownlow.
1 Brownlow.
Yeah. But I think he's got top 5 for votes, or he's very high up for votes. I might have had that first bit wrong. But
I mean, Pendles got 2 Prems, no Brownlow, which is still crazy to me.
Pendles has the most votes for a player that hasn't won one, I think. Yeah, so there's still a decent standing to have. So in one corner you've got maybe Gawn and Pendles. The next corner you've got Cameron, Charlie Cameron, McGovern, Brodie Grundy. The next one might be a bit leaner, but you've got Sidebottom, Fife, Walker, Stewart, Stephen May, Jamie Elliott, Dane Zorko, Luke Bruce. So pretty even. I think it'll be interesting to see who comes out of that one. And then the fourth corner, you've got Danger. Ollie Wines is a Brownlow medal winner. Lockie Neal's a 2-time Brownlow medal winner. Libba. Do you take the longevity over Blitzarves? Like could be a quite interesting one. So yeah, that'll kind of unfold over the next month, and we'll have the result.
I mean, Lockie Neal, like, 'cause I feel like cause I just realized he's over 30, to be honest. And when you talk about those players in that over 30 bracket, you're thinking of your Pendleburys and your Dangerfields.
He seems
but then
a lot
Lockie
younger.
Neal, I just realized, 2 Brownlows, 1 Prem.
Your captain as well.
And he's probably had, I want to say, 6 or 7 best and fairest. Like he won 1 or 2 Doig medals at Freo, I want to say. And then
He's killing
he would be my favourite. But he has to get past Libba probably in the second round, then Danger, and then maybe if it's Fife or Sidebottom, Tom Stewart. Like he won't have an easy run. But bit like Dacos. I don't think Dacos had an easy run in our under 25s one, but he was favourite and got through quite comfortably. So it'll be interesting, how people vote and how they want to vote.
I also didn't realize that that's Sam Collins, yeah?
He's Sam Collins.
I'm just learning about who's actually over 30.
He had a late start to his career.
He was at Fremantle initially, delisted.
Yeah, went to the VFL. Yeah.
So mature age.
I mean, if I'm going to predict who's winning, I'm taking Pendlebury just because of the Collingwood factor. And it's a fan voted thing, and usually whoever is Collingwood, they just win stuff. Like, wasn't Mark of the Year and Goal of the Year? Didn't they used to be fan voted, or are they still fan voted?
They were kind of fan voted, but not like the whole award was fan voted. Like it was, I think you could vote for a few, but then there was still a bit of say from the league, so it wasn't all just weighted to. Yeah, like the big clubs. But like we said in the under 25 one, we didn't know how it was going to work with Dacos, given there's a lot of love from Collingwood, but there's also a lot of love against Collingwood, or I guess you could call it hate. So, when you've got someone like Max Gawn, who's quite loved from the neutral up against Pendles, but then again, Pendles is probably the most likable Collingwood player there's ever been. So, yeah, it'll be fascinating how that little quadrant breaks out.
Little aside from that, so I was at the game obviously yesterday with Collingwood fans and my mate who's a D supporter.
Yeah,
and we're talking about who. It's always interesting to find out who opposition fans hate from your team or who they like from your team. And I didn't realize just how many Collingwood fans just do not like Bailey Fritsch. From for some reason, and I honestly think it's just his hair, and maybe it's because he just has that sort of look at him that
maybe
if you're an opposition fan or a neutral, you're just not going to like him. But who do you think is the most liked from Collingwood? Do you think it is Pendles?
Yeah,
it has to be.
Or Sidebottom. I find Sidebottom more likable than Pendles, but Pendles it's just been the better player. I like both of them.
I think it might be Elliott. I think everyone kind of likes Elliott. Apart from maybe Essendon fans, but Elliott, I think because he just doesn't say anything.
He's the kind of small forward who isn't chirpy. He just goes about his business.
Yeah.
Don't mind it.
Bro McCreary is well liked as well, I think, by opposition.
Who would be the hated ones at Collingwood? Dacos. Just because he's good. That's the only reason.
Yeah. It might be I mean, Braden Maynard has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. I think it would have to be Maynard. But then, I get it from, because then, the equivalent for D's is Stephen May.
Yeah.
Geelong?
I was going to say, you probably used to be Selwood just because of the whole ducking thing and everyone just hated it. It's Danger.
Yeah.
People just hate Danger because he's...
I don't know. I reckon
he always has...
I reckon his public perception is actually...
I would say this time last year, people that weren't Geelong fans didn't like Danger. And I think a factor of it was because he's AFLPA president, so you need to have a say on these matters, and everyone just be like, why does he have to have a say?
Yeah.
So probably Danger. I think Cameron's pretty well liked.
Yeah.
Bailey Smith certainly rubs people.
Oh, no, he's the most...
A couple different ways.
Yeah. I don't know if people hate him, though. I think it's just because he's so overexposed.
Yeah.
And to no fault of his... I mean, a little bit of fault of his own.
Bit of tall poppy syndrome, which is pretty rich in Australia.
Yeah.
Most loved cat might be Cameron. If you ask Richmond fans, they hate Tom Stewart for a couple of reasons. Yeah. That being one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. But is there anyone that it surprises you how well they're liked or how well they're not liked by opposition fans?
I'm trying to think. I don't think there's many that get hate outside of Danger. It's usually Danger or Selwood. people have loved Hawkins, and like you usually have to talk about the star players. Like I don't know if there's we don't have that pest who's like not in our best 10 players like a lot of clubs might have. Like maybe Stengel. But like Brad Close and Grind seem pretty well liked.
I don't even think he's very pesty at all.
No, but that's what I'm saying. He'd probably be like
I think just
the one. Like that's it. Yeah. Like he's just that's it. So
it's not like a Nick Watson where almost despise him because of the antics that he has on field.
Do you ever play you don't like for absolutely no reason?
Yes.
You gonna say who it is?
I mean, I could probably name one from every team, but not off the top of my head, but I know I definitely have some out there. But I definitely have just like players that I really love for no reason as well. But no, I'm not going to name. I'll think about that. I'll come to the podcast next week with players that I don't like for.
Before we move on, then, who's your favorite player that's not a Melbourne player?
Oh,
in yours for Collingwood?
Libba, yeah, 100%.
Bond.
Yeah.
Do you mean just from a playing perspective, or just like general vibe?
Like a genuinely good human being.
Yeah.
The way he talks, the way he conducts himself.
Yep.
In interviews, presses. I think,
Is it because he's Italian?
Might have something. It helps. It definitely helps.
Bring an Italian around. All right. Yeah. So that's good. over 30 bracket.
Yep. It'll be up on. Plug. So I should say we'll have the polling up on our Instagram stories from this week. Yeah. So first round this week.
Okay. Cool. All right. So this is something that we've just tried about 2 seconds ago, but I'm always up for a new idea. This is the AFL Player Word Association.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
This needs a better name, but okay.
It's not. That's memorable.
AFL Player Word Association game.
Apwag.
I was thinking the same.
Apwag. Yeah. There you
go. Apwag.
Sure.
The Apwag.
Or someone can just comment what it's actually called in that.
Okay, maybe we should
what would you
game.
Google like if you were trying to find
I have no idea. Like I barely know what is about to happen.
So I've definitely seen it. I've seen people do it, and it's pretty much just you have two people who have to try and say the same word at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we each start with separate words, and then ideally we just kind of go off the two words that we've said in this instance and try and find what would be the thing in between. It's like a real, I don't know, Venn diagram type of.
Okay.
No, so we'll do AFL players.
Venn diagram game or something.
Venn diagram word, yeah.
The AFL Player Word Venn Diagram Association game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rolls off the tongue. So, me and Aidan will have a go. If you want to count us down.
Yeah.
And we'll just say two complete random current players.
Okay.
And we'll have to try and get into a position where we end up saying the same player, just going off the players we've already mentioned. And we can't mention the same player twice.
But it's always from the first two that you name.
So we'll name two players, and then you just keep counting down 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
I think it'll work when we just start.
God, all right. Count 3, 2, 1 this works. All right. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Josh Dunkley. Oh my God!
No way.
No, that wasn't scripted. That wasn't scripted. That wasn't scripted. No, that wasn't scripted. That wasn't scripted at all. No, No. Why did you think of him? I went straight to Lockie Neal and thought, I was going to go
Libba and Bond. I'm like, no, we already mentioned them. I'm like, all right.
That wasn't scripted. That wasn't scripted. That wasn't. I know. You can have your doubts.
I have my doubts because
do it again.
But you are quite synced up today. Like you're wearing the same thing.
Yeah.
You're united in pouring ice over my head today. Like I do believe that.
That's nuts.
That is
crazy. Out of 700 players, like we're not going to name probably 500 of them because they're less known. That was nuts.
Seriously, that was, as I said, I was going to go Libba or Bond. It was fresh. It was in my mind.
That's a clip. That is.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's try this again. Give me a sec. All right. Cool. I'm going to go.
If you guys keep naming the same player, I swear. Okay. All right.
I've got one.
3, 2, 1.
Mark Blitzarves.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Ready?
I'll just go.
3, 2, 1.
Sam Draper. Okay. We've got the right team.
3, 2, 1.
Sam Durham.
All
right.
3, 2, 1.
Archie Perkins.
I blanked. I was trying to think. I was going to go Ben Hobbs, to be fair. So
we can still go. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Peter Wright. We might be able to get it here.
3, 2, 1.
Nate Caddy.
Oh!
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Harrison Jones. I think we can get this one. We can get this one.
3, 2, 1.
Nick Bryan. Oh no. We just go back to Josh
I believe that the
Dunkley.
first one was a complete fluke. 3, 2, 1.
Matt Guelphy.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Yeah. All right.
3, 2, 1.
Jordan Ridley. There we go.
Yeah. All right. What was it? How many was that?
That was a good 8 or 9. Yeah. Can't believe that, Josh. That's nuts. Like, I swear on my mother's. Well, she doesn't have a grave, but I swear on my mother that was.
All right. Shout out Mrs. Keating.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was good. I like that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
nuts.
nice moment.
I actually can't believe that.
You guys are cute. I like it.
We need a good name for that game, though.
We got it.
The Josh Dunkley game now.
Yeah, it's just. Oh my god.
Shout out to Dunks.
Yeah. Shout out Dunks. All right. You've brought something. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit ago, and it would have been good if it was like a live reaction, but I'll bring it back because we did it off air. But my question to you two is, are ruckman midfielders?
Oh, we did speak, yes, at length.
We spoke a little bit. I think I spoke to you separately though, and I want maybe even the viewers' answer to this because are ruckman midfielders?
I'd say no.
So ruck's a ruck.
I like their own category.
Yeah,
But
they play in midfield.
not all. I mean, you've got to ruck all around the ground, but you start. It's just like, I mean, this is all semantics, but
Yeah.
Just
it's
how
like-
we like it. Just how we like it on this show.
yeah. But it's I consider a ruck a midfielder because a midfielder plays all over the ground as well.
So like if I
Maybe we need different category. Like we need to change the way we think about field positions anyway.
yeah.
Like your back line and your forward line are set.
Yep.
Like that's what they are. But that whole midfield range is more like, it's not just the midfield.
Yeah.
It's like all around the ground.
Yeah. Because I think like you go up to ask 10 random footy fans, name your top 10 midfielders. And let's say it's 100 players named. Like not one of them will be a ruckman.
No.
I would say Maxwell.
You reckon? Yeah. Well,
You say Max Connor's a key defender as well. He's a star.
Yeah. And a key forward.
name me five guys who can hit a target out of D50.
Why would you do that?
Too soon.
I'm not saying I could either.
But that's the thing. It's like, so like the whole ruck rover and like, what's the other one?
Rover and
Center.
And rover?
center.
No,
Yeah,
Rock,
center.
Rover, and center.
Yeah,
Ruck,
that's old
rover,
school.
and center.
Now, if you ask,
but
like,
what was the distinction between ruck, rover, and rover?
don't
It's
know.
such an outdated
Yeah.
model.
If you ask-
that wouldn't have any bearing.
If you ask AFL coaches now, it's like defensive mid, attacking mid, and then there's like a central one.
Yeah.
Like it's completely different. Yeah, it's just I think the ruck rover thing was just to line them up on the magnets board. Like that was
Yeah.
about it. So I don't know, but
Is the idea that like the ruck rover is the first, like they get first possession from the ruck, and then
maybe
hand over to the rover,
and then the
Was it
rover.
in that depth in
Huh?
terms of like the position?
I have no
Rover
idea.
Was he rove? Ruck rover was the ruck. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was just,
I feel like ruck rover
like,
was the
because
one.
You had a ruck, then you had a rover of the ruck.
Yeah.
You also had a rover who was a midfielder, and then a centerman because he was literally in the center.
I have no idea.
I don't think it was necessarily based on the role, so to speak. They would have had roles. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
But the terminology used, I don't think had any description behind it. It was more the literal meaning of it just roved
right.
to the ruck.
I would like to see like, and like this is bringing back to like preseason stuff. You know, when they used to like test out rules more in the preseason and just for the preseason. I would like to see a more netball style game where you like, and I know they have thought about bringing this in, probably not that seriously, but where you have to stay in certain zones. So it's like if you're a defender, you can't enter the forward 50. If you're like you can only play, maybe put a halfway line or something. But like if you're the center, you can't leave like the center square. Or like if you're a wing, you can only play on the wings. You can't go on the center square. You can't go on the defensive or forward 50.
Didn't they used to think about that? Like it's probably
I think
within the
someone
last
actually
within the
pitched
last
it.
10 years when they were having all those issues with congestion
Yeah.
on the ground. They thought about. Then they brought in the 666 rule, which is really just like for the
Center
bounce of the ball.
Yeah.
Which might happen 15 times a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they thought about having one or two players not allowed outside of D50 forward 50.
It's too hard to adjudicate. Like, oh, you stepped over. Like, it's already enough with the minor rules.
Yeah.
That creates such big outcomes in the games that people already, happy with.
They'd have to
imagine
have
going, oh no, Harris Andrews, you put your foot outside the D50, so therefore the opposition gets a shot on goal.
Well, I feel like that could easily just be like a fifth umpire, not on the ground, just on camera, just watching the field.
So someone like in the arc.
Yeah, like the arc, and because I think that's what the game needs. I think it needs more
confusion and frustration.
Yeah, but one thing I did learn over the weekend as well too. This is barely related to what's on the rundown, but I was at the Storm versus Cowboys game, and we were there because we had these tickets from our mates, his mates with the referee basically.
Right.
But the NRL refs are full time, like that's their full time gig.
Ideal.
And I just don't see it. Just brought up again, and maybe not because this isn't just because of the umpiring decisions yesterday, but I do think it would just make the game a lot better if the umpires were paid just a straight up wage.
Oh, heaps.
100%.
Like full time.
Yeah.
And I was explaining it to Retro Rugby League, the guy that I was at the game with, and he was just fascinated by the fact that one, they're part time, and two, like if they're part time, that means they get other gigs, and then we have like the situation with I can't remember what the guy's name is, but he also works part time at Sportsbet. Like that just
Nick Foot.
Yeah. And like I know it's not related to footy at all; it's a horse racing or whatever thing, but I still think that's just way too big a conflict of interest. But
I'm okay with it. I'm not a betting guy, and I don't like betting all that much. But sorry to like be a sourpuss or whatever, but
I'm not betting at all.
I don't think it's I don't think there's much there. Like he would be under pretty intense investigation, like ongoing. Like they would be pretty red hot on what he is talking about and what he is doing.
Yeah.
So he would know that anyway.
I think it's just weird to work for. I think it's weird.
The optics don't look.
Oh,
it doesn't look great.
I can understand that, and I can understand concern.
Yeah.
But it's like Tom Papley does a betting show as well, doesn't he? And he's strictly racehorsing. Like he wouldn't be able to talk about footy odds all that much. I wouldn't have thought.
Does he?
Yeah.
Big punter. Horse racing.
And a lot of footy players are. You'd have to be pretty silly to be betting on footy or even talking about it if you're.
I think again. I mean, I guess it isn't. But like it. I mean, there have been like players and stuff that have gotten in trouble for it. There have been like umpires that have gotten in trouble for it. So I don't know. I just I think it's a bit of a bad look. But anyway, round 14. What are we looking forward to?
There's some footy on.
I actually have not looked at the draw
country game
at all.
Country game, which if it goes like every other country game, should be pretty one-sided to the Cats. St Kilda Dogs. I'd like to think the Dogs bounce back. Hawthorn Adelaide might be good. Hawks looked a little bit better last week.
Hey, that's going to be a banger. It's at Tassie though.
Cold.
But should still be a good game.
It should.
And Lions Giants as well. I think. I know the Giants aren't playing that good at the moment, but I think they match up relatively well.
A couple of close games last year, including a final. So, that could be a good one.
I think a telling one as well. Port D's. I think we spoke about it briefly.
That is, that's probably game of the round.
King's
to be honest.
birthday game.
Yeah,
I think the loser may almost, again, mathematically probably can still make finals, but I think it might just be too far back at that stage.
I know I said this about the King's birthday game, but this game is now our grand final. Like we have to win this game
every week.
And I might just say that for every game for the rest of the year until we're mathematically out. But I mean, we need to win this. And I mean, we're a pretty good chance. I know Port had a good win over the last round, but I think we're playing better than them in general. Like our game plan is just better, but usually they're it's a pretty decent game against Port most times we match up.
They beat you last time, but you beat them earlier in the year on their home decks, which is.
Well, we do well in Adelaide. Yeah. Like Adelaide Oval's like our second home game, home ground. But that's probably the game of the round.
Been close, actually. I'm just looking at only the last three, but 2 points, 7 points, 4 points difference between the last three. So
we've played them in a bunch of different places too. I think we played them in Darwin or Alice Springs or something.
You would have
2 years ago or something. Yeah. I think we beat them there. Played them at Adelaide Oval during Gather Round, and we beat them. But they've had a couple of months. But that's probably game of the round.
And also North's second home game in WA. Not that is any sort of game of the round.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be loving that if you're Freo.
Yeah, so don't have to travel. North did a bit of a venture over there for including now the past fortnight. Played at Bunbury, stole a win against the Eagles.
Is that the same ground that they're playing at this?
No, they're playing at Optus Stadium against the Dockers.
Oh, wow.
So
but it's their home game.
They're in the home rooms, I'd imagine, technically. I wonder if they do actually switch over. That'd be interesting.
I mean, they would have to if it's technically their home game. So am I understanding that they have a bunch of Western Australian fans?
They
like
had
legacy fans?
Had a pretty good turnout in Bunbury.
Is that why they've done this?
I
think they get a bit of cash gen, which is always handy. Like they probably in hindsight probably should have done the opposite. Have Freo down in Bunbury, which is always going to be a sold out crowd, and then you get West Coast at Optus, which is always you're going to get 60 at least. It's going to pull in some nice money.
I feel like you're like the West Coast fans are more likely to outnumber.
That's a good
North
point. Yeah, like if depends
fans, like it might be a bit more not even, but it's probably going to be hard either way. And then the other thing is like they might have had to have travelled to West Coast to play away or Freo away at least once this year anyway. So they've done both, and they just get the home ground. So is this them getting out of Tasmania? Like, have they actually said anything about this?
It's a little bit, it's pretty much.
They still have a couple of games, but as of next year, they've traded out their 2 home games to WA.
Yeah,
like they have this year, and then they'll have 9 Victorian games.
Yeah, they've only got
as opposed to I think they had 2 in Tassie and then 2 in Victoria.
Yeah,
normally. Now this year, I think they still got 1 or 2 games. I think
they've got 1 in Tassie left, but they've already had 1 home game, and then they also play Hawthorn away in Tassie for the Tassie Derby, I guess you can call it.
Tassie Derby.
But next year, no, I don't think there's any Tassie games at all.
I can't remember. But
at play as a home team.
Man, it's going to be weird if they I mean it might work in their favor if they end up like still just transitioning out of Tassie and then Tassie doesn't even happen anyway. And then they just go back to a normal or like just be North Melbourne in Melbourne and then their Western Australian games.
Yep.
But I mean they had a pretty good following in Tassie, so I don't know. Anyway, I think that's it.
That's it.
Just about.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do we got on Zero Hanger? Are we just plugging this over 30 bracket thing?
There should be some stuff happening, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
You're probably asking the right person, but I'm...
Well, that's what you get from Zero Hanger. Total commitment.
Mitch got ice bucketed as well. Ricochet. His brain's frozen too.
Oh, you pet. Also, by the way, can I just say, I got 2 buckets of ice poured on my head and then come down here and Mitch turns the heater off in the office. Like, is that not just the rudest thing
it was really
I've ever seen?
The heater was blaring. It's sunny outside and I walked up like those flights of stairs twice.
I got ice bucketed.
I had to come. I went up and down like 4 times.
I got ice bucketed and you've turned the heater off. My toes could have frozen off.
It's funny.
Anyway, all right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and, catch all the latest at zerohanger.com.